Sit rep as follows.
Transaction approved.
No, they're here already.
Tommy,
Since last night's declaration of
Today,
martial law, soldiers are moving in to secure key areas in all major.
In response to UN presence in Minneapolis.
Last night I dreamt about how things were.
Of every enemy of the state!
And then I woke up here.
Back up! What happened? He got shot! What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Wake up! What's your name? What's your name? Shit!
As you've seen throughout the month, it has been the unplanned and the unannounced which has been the fulcrum of every milestone in the Occupy movement. Saturday night, as a piece of tape we played earlier showed, when police clashed with protesters in Times Square, an American veteran of the war in Iraq stood up for the people behind the barricades.
Why are y'all walking like there's a war going on? Nobody has guns! I'm in New York City. I am from New York City, and these cops are hurting people that I fought to protect. There's no reason for this. There's no honor in hurting unarmed civilians, and I won't let it happen.
Sergeant Shamar Thomas is a Marine veteran, served 2 tours in Iraq, took part in Fallujah in the second battle. Comes from a military family. Both his parents are veterans. His father served in Afghanistan, his mother in Iraq. It's an honor to have you here, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Why'd you go to Times Square Saturday night, particularly wearing your medals and your uniform?
I initially went to the protest on October 5th, and I saw the police brutality, and it made me want to get involved even more to, you know, the understanding that, you know, we have young men and women out here who are trying to inspire, you know, change, And so why wouldn't I want to be a part of that?
Protesters didn't know what to do because obviously you were hitting a chord with these people. What were you trying to say? And obviously we have the quotes, we have the tape, we played it, but what was in your mind as you were, expressing yourself in that vocal manner?
Well, I've been to Iraq twice. I've been in, I was in a riot in Rupa, Iraq in 2004 where we had rocks thrown at us, and after the rocks were thrown, we didn't go beating up people and arresting people, you know what I mean? We kind of treated it with a level of humility, you know what I mean? And to have the cops beating, I saw, a cop punching a woman in the face, to see that in my own country, my family fought for this country for people to have a right, and these people are peaceful. I haven't seen a video yet where I've seen them try to hurt the cops. So why are they using batons and sticks? Why are they in riot gear when nobody's trying to riot,
Did you have a sense at the time that they were listening to you?
Oh, I know for sure they were listening to me. I have no doubt in my mind that they were listening to me. I had the fire in my gut, so to speak. Like they knew what I meant. I've been to on over 50 combat missions, so the intensity is there. They know that I'm telling the truth. They know in their hearts what I'm saying is right.
And it seemed like you were a cold bucket of water against their sort of fevered, what's going to happen now thing, because you actually been in the real thing where it was life and death, and this was not it. And that was what you're trying to get to them?
It's a time and place for things. It wasn't. When the situation arises where the crowd starts getting frantic, that's when it's time to say, you know what, the crowd is getting frantic. When people are just shouting, we are the 99%, come join us, these are not, chants that incite violence, you know what I mean? So why, the riot police were informed, just walking, marching up and down the street like, like it was a battle going on, and I've been in battle. It was no battle going on.
The other side not only didn't have weapons of any kind, they didn't have the rocks yet. They're not
even, rocks.
There's no stage at that point. Give me your assessment of the messages that are coming from Occupy Wall Street, and are you in favor of them, opposing the corporate greed and holding the banks accountable and supporting the middle class, principally those three?
I support everybody's view. I tell people all the time that I'm not a part of any political party. I'm not a part of any group or anything like that. I'm an American citizen.
Okay, so then what does this mean to you?
What this means to me is that this is our time in our generation to change the greed that is in America. Like both of my parents did 20 plus years in the military, and they have to find jobs now. And it's like, I recruited for the Marines for 4 months, and it's like I taught kids to come join the Marines. So it's like, come join the Marines, and then what are you going to do after you get out of the Marines? You know what I mean? So it's like there's no place for us to go now. You know what I'm saying? So
is there a place, do you think, in Occupy, in the entire movement, in the protest movement that's beginning in this country, for veterans' rights, and particularly recent veterans' rights, to be addressed? Should there be some more attention paid to this fact?
Well, that's the whole thing with the uniform. That's what I tell people. Like, I want to inspire the veterans to come out, because a lot of veterans have this thing where they don't want to speak against the government. They're so, trained, like, oh, no, if I speak out, speaking against the government is wrong, you know what I mean? Because we have a chain of command, But I don't think it's about a chain of command. It's about a way of life. You understand what I'm saying? So
chain of command goes both ways. Sergeant Shamar Thomas, U.S. Marine Corps, whose mother, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather also served this country through Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam and World War II.
Yeah.
Great thanks to you for your service, to them for their service, and spectacular work on Saturday night.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming in here.
To the men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces, we are anonymous. We would like to remind you of Operation Iraqi Freedom. The purpose of Operation Iraqi Freedom was to remove all weapons of mass destruction, as well as to secure a better democracy for the citizens of Iraq. In the process of securing that democracy, it meant the protection of Iraqi citizens from an unjust government, until the political regime changed for a better democracy. Now if we may direct your attention to the homeland, there's a new enemy to the United States Constitution. This enemy is the current United States President. The President has passed a bill that practically destroys the United States Constitution. The name of this bill is called the National Defense Authorization Act. The provisions in this bill will allow federal personnel to indefinitely detain any American citizen that the government sees fit. The National Defense Authorization Act will allow any U.S. citizen under suspicion only to be detained with no verifiable proof. Most critical are sections 1031 and 1032. Section 1031 states that all persons accused do not get a trial, American citizen or not. You as the men and women of the United States Armed Forces took an oath to uphold the United States Constitution, and to defend it at all costs. Do not allow this injustice upon the Constitution proposed by the President, or orders from your superiors to hinder your judgment as human beings, or to seek the facts and evidence to support terrorist activity. The government is already classifying protesting as low-level terrorism. Do not follow suit. The protesters are exercising their First Amendment rights to petition the government for a positive change. Not only did the government take away the people's rights but your rights as well. Before you are Marines, Army Rangers, Navy crewmen, or fighter pilots, you are citizens first. The First Amendment in the Constitution gives United States citizens the right to freedom of speech, religion, press, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. The United States Constitution has worked flawlessly for the last 220 years. It is not the President's decision to change the Constitution whenever he sees fit. The Constitution was written by the founders of the United States. It is not the President's decision to make the United States a war zone and to enforce a nationwide police state. He is not the supreme ruler. He led the country to believe that hope would bring change for a better tomorrow. So far the only change has been a dictatorship that allows the brutal beatings of unarmed citizens, pepper spray to the faces of the elderly, and feet to the stomachs of pregnant women, as well as a bullet to the face of a military veteran named Scott Olson, from Oakland, California, in hopes to silence a revolution that refuses to be silenced. This is America, the land of the free. We will not be silenced. We will not go quietly. You go to foreign countries to protect the citizens from dictatorship and unjust laws. Now it's time to protect the citizens of your own nation, as the United States government is now inflicting fear on its own people. Your allegiance is to the people of the United States, not to the people that control the government. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive political injustice. We do not forget political dictatorship. To the United States government, expect us.
If there is one thing that has distinguished the United States of America from the rest of the world, it is our unwavering belief in freedom. And if there is one thing that protects and upholds that freedom, it is the Constitution of the United States.
Lane clear! Clear!
We came here looking for a subject that we had an arrest warrant for. Obviously, we didn't find it.
The Patriot Act
Permits federal agents to write their own search warrants.
Roving wiretaps without having to identify the person.
Many Americans are being monitored.
The FBI monitoring young children.
Authorizes surveillance by suspicion, monitoring citizens not linked to any terrorist groups.
I don't think the Patriot Act would have been passed if it would have been called Repeal the Fourth Amendment Act.
Fourth Amendment, gone.
Do you want to have the government have the ability to send you to Guantanamo Bay?
The National Defense Authorization Act
gives the military the power to indefinitely detain American citizens
without trial.
Suspected, not convicted.
When they say, I want my lawyer, you tell them, shut up.
Officially declares the United States a battleground.
It designates the world as the battlefield, including the homeland.
Sixth Amendment, gone.
There is absolutely never a reason to give up 1 ounce of freedom for the sake of security. It won't work.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God.
My administration will not authorize the indefinite military detention. President Obama, on New Year's Eve, signed the National Defense Authorization Act.
No more national security letters to spy on citizens who are not suspected of a crime.
President Obama signed into law a 4-year extension of the Patriot Act.
Drones that Congress you love so much just passed a bill which the president is expected to sign into law. Drone air aircraft for use in American airspace by the year 2015. The agency officials say 30,000 of them by 2020.
They can be used for surveillance to establish daily routine.
From the moment that you walk out of your home in the morning until you return at night, your every movement will be tracked by this unseen eye in the sky.
Governor Romney, as president, would you have signed the National Defense Act?
Yes, I would have, and I do believe that it's appropriate.
I think you want to use every tool that you can possibly use. The Patriot Act has clearly been a key part of that. All of us will be in danger for the rest of our lives.
There is no such society that I'm aware of where we've had radical individualism and that it succeeds as a culture.
There is such a society. It's called the United States of America.
This idea that people should be left alone, be able to do whatever they want to do. Government should keep our taxes down and keep our regulation flowing, that we shouldn't get involved in the bedroom, we shouldn't get involved in cultural issues. That is not how traditional conservatives view the world.
They want you to believe that patriotism means that you support everything the government wants. A true patriot defends liberty and the people.
Politicians are politicians, but Ron Paul is a human being, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey guys, G4T reported on what could be the first shots in the Second American Revolutionary War. Sheriff Tony DeMeo has taken a stand against BLM federal agents. They've been going in and seizing private property from citizens throughout the years, in this case cattle, and what he's basically told them is if you come into my jurisdiction, we will meet force with force and you will be arrested. BLM agents backed down from this confrontation. The way the BLM, the federal agents, responded to this standing up for the Constitution, standing up for personal property, was to actually threaten the sheriff with arrest. So in this case, we came very close to a war of state or local jurisdiction police against federally armed agents. We're talking about potential civil war in the United States of America. Check out this clip.
And that any unlawful action from the federal government would result in an arrest by the people that are there. And at that time, I was informed that they were in contact with a U.S. attorney, and that the U.S. attorney was advising them that, advising the members of the County Sheriffs and my lieutenant that if I didn't allow them to take these actions against Wayne Hayes, that they were going to have a warrant for my arrest, which I said, I'll give my address and I'll be waiting for them. The federal government was interested in seizing cattle, and they use any means necessary, including armed federal agents, which I informed them to, which I informed my deputy to notify that member of that federal agency that if they brought any armed federal agents to Nye County to conduct an illegal search and seizure, that they would be faced with the Nye County Sheriff's Office SWAT team as well, and then we'd be standing between them and my constituent. Shortly thereafter, we didn't have any more issues with BLM.
It's a $37 million facility. It was built in Indiana. It was modeled off of a modern facility in Michigan. It originally was designed in the States and brought down here in sections, so we put it together like one big Lego piece.
Then people started noticing on the backs of flatback rail cars these little 1- and 2-person mobile concrete jail cells. And those indeed have been manufactured by the tens of thousands and purchased by the federal government and local governments. And they've been stockpiling on county, city, state, and federal land hundreds and hundreds and hundreds per site of these little mobile concrete jail cells. So there certainly is a buildup of that type of equipment.
Several years ago, the military issued a challenge to create a faster and better razor tape
They wanted a barrier that would be at least 50 inches taller than the standard fence and one that could be deployed faster than 30 man-hours.
Ulster County-based Cobra Systems is getting ready to ship the first batch of its express razor wire to the U.S. military. The system allows soldiers to lay hundreds of yards of wire from the back of a vehicle in just a few moments.
This is more of an action of a country that has gone absolutely berserk, that they feel that they would have to jail their own citizens, that the government would fear its own people so much that they would be talking about detaining people or incarcerating them or vetting them or investigating them or whatever. This whole thing has been turned on its head. So anytime that you can demonstrate the power of government and you want to condition people into a way of thinking or to intimidate them or make them fearful, do actions that are going to put the fear of government and authority in people's hearts, strike that chord and make them shut up. Just when people in this country should be doing exactly the opposite, because I don't even recognize this country anymore.
Attention, attention, attention. American forces are here to help. Remain calm. We will not tolerate civil disobedience.
Military Occupational Specialty Internment Resettlement Specialist. This MOS plays an integral role in providing a uniform system of handling prisoners and detainees. Trained as Internment Resettlement Specialist to control and supervise detainees to ensure their humane treatment. For this job, the Army will train you to use specialized equipment to monitor activity, to conduct searches, and to inspect areas where prisoners work and live. Here, you'll train to in-process prisoners and detainees, and to brief them on their rights. After your initial entry training and advanced individual training, you'll work long hours, day or night, in a garrison or field environment, where you may practice emergency procedures, detect and confiscate contraband, and escort prisoners outside the facility. Military Occupational Specialty Internment Resettlement Specialist.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My topic for this evening is now it's assassinations. What have we allowed ourselves to become? Are we no longer a nation of laws? Have we become instead a nation of men who make secret arrests? Are secret prisons now simply another tool of the federal government law enforcement? Is secret rendition of individuals now permitted out of misplaced fear? Have we decided that the writ of habeas corpus is not worth defending? Is torture now an acceptable tool for making us safe? Unfortunately, the single answer to all of these questions from the leaders of our country and to many of our citizens appears to be yes. And now we are told that assassination of foreigners as well as American citizens is legitimate and necessary to provide security for our people. It is my firm opinion that nothing could be further from the truth. Secret arrests, secret renditions, torture, and assassinations are illegal under both domestic and international law. These activities should be anathema to the citizens of a constitutional republic. The real threat doesn't arise from our failure to torture. Rather, desensitizing our nation to the willful neglect and sacrifice of our civil liberties fought and died for over the centuries is the threat. The concept of habeas corpus existed even before King John of England was forced in 1215 by his rebellious barons to sign the Magna Carta. This basic principle and expression of individual liberty, which has survived 800 years, greatly influenced the writing of our Constitution and our common law heritage. Today, we hardly hear a whimper, either from the American people or a stone silent U.S. government as our cherished liberties are eradicated. Instead, we have a government that deliberately orchestrates needless fear and makes people insecure enough to ignore the reality of their lost liberties. The latest outrage is the current administration's acknowledgement that we now have a policy that permits assassination not only of foreign suspects, but of American citizens as well. Of course, the CIA has used secret assassinations in a limited fashion for decades, despite international, domestic, and moral law. When done secretly, as in the past, our government at least recognized that assassination was illegal and wrong. Frighteningly and astonishingly, however, the policy is now explicit. National Intelligence Director Dennis Blair, in open testimony before the House Intelligence Committee on February 3rd of this year, acknowledged that American citizens can indeed be assassinated at our government's discretion. The U.S. government attempted to assassinate Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen without even charging him with a crime. We're told this evidence is secret, that he does not deserve any constitutional rights, and that some unknown individual in the administration has the authority to declare him a threat, and therefore a legitimate target for assassination. Yes, I know he is probably a very bad person. Yes, I know that only a few Americans are on the assassination hit list. Yes, I know that artificially generated fear makes a large number of Americans inclined to applaud this effort, which supposedly will make us safe. But if this could become standard operating procedure and a permanent precedent is established, let me assure you that this abuse of the law will spread. It's time for Congress and the American people to wake up to the realities of the dangers we face. We must remember as members of Congress that we have taken an oath to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. It should not be that difficult to distinguish the difference between the danger posed by the underwear bomber and the danger posed by a government that endorses secret prisons, torture, and assassinating American citizens. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Fellow American patriots, I come to you today to let you know that your government cannot overpower you, and that you as the people hold your own fate and your way of life in the palm of your hands. You are under the watchful eye of an ever-increasingly tyrannical government, but within that government lies patriots just like you. For fear of retaliation from that very government and the safety of my family, I'm forced to cover my face like a common criminal, like a coward. I've been told that my thoughts are traitorous and that my actions un-American. Why? Because I support the people? Because I support the Constitution? I'm here today to say to those of you that are asleep that you are the traitor. You that stand idly by as our freedoms are slowly stripped from us are the un-American. I ask civilians on the street if they're aware of the form of government that this United States was founded on. Almost every one of them proudly stated democracy. Why, we spread democracy across the world, I've heard. Let me read to you Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution of the United States of America. The United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a republican form of government, and it shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature or of the executive when legislature cannot be convened, against domestic violence. And tell me if this one sounds familiar. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How did we get so far from our roots? And while I'm on pledges, many of you might have seen the YouTube video produced by Harpo Productions, where dozens of celebrities pledged to be a servant to our president and mankind. A servant to our president. Last time I checked, our president is a servant to the people. And I pledge no allegiance to any man. You know what I pledge? I pledge that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, so help me God. That's what I pledge. And that's the pledge that every U.S. service member makes. Yet it seems most of them don't even know what's in the Constitution. Second Amendment, written December 15, 1791. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. I consider any laws that affect my right to keep and bear arms as an infringement on that right. So you lawmakers out there, go ahead. Push past the Blair Holtz H.R. 45 bill. We will use every avenue of peaceful resolve that we have. But you push our backs against the wall, and we will push back. Next is the 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or the people. So all these laws that the government passes, like you having to give your child shot known to cause autism before your child can attend public school, the restrictions of homeschooling, the banning of medicines that help people, gun control being referred to the committee right now as I speak, the suspension of habeas corpus, so many unconstitutional laws that 9 states have already declared sovereignty to the United States government, and it's expected that over 20 did. I was proud whenever I read the Oklahoma resolution, that this serve as notice and demand to the federal government as our agents to cease and desist effective immediately mandates that are beyond the scope of these constitutionally delegated powers. That's passion, conviction, dedication of the Oklahoma residents. And they're not alone. We, the American patriots, are tired of standing idly by. This is a call to arms. Support the sovereignty of your states. Reclaim your freedoms. Write your senators. Write your congressmen. Write your state representatives. For you American citizens that are asleep, there's something going on around you. And if you can't see it, it's only because you're so self-absorbed in your trinkets and your cell phones and your video games, your corporate jobs. There's a revolution brewing under the surface of your country and you don't even know it. If I ask you if you're awake and you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to start searching for information. You need to read your Constitution. You need to know your rights. Look up what started the first revolution. Do research on your monetary system. Keyword the Federal Reserve. Ask yourself a simple question. Do I want to be free? Or do I just ask for a protective master to watch over me? time for you to make that choice is at hand. The enemies of the Constitution are not far away in some distant desert. They're found right here on our own soil. We have become complacent. We've allowed the tyrants to take over this country, and we have no one to blame but ourselves. The time is now. We must rise up together as one voice and resist while we still have the ability to resist. I know many of you are afraid of the government. You wonder how can you fight something as strong as the U.S. military. I ask you this question. Who is it that's behind those rifles that you fear? They are your sons, your daughters, your mothers, and your fathers. They are American citizens just like you. And let me assure you that there is a resistance within the military. We will not be silent. We will not obey. We will not allow the American people to be harmed and their rights be taken away in any manner. We will not disarm the American people during martial law. Let me assure you, patriots, that we will die fighting our brothers in arms if we must, but we will not fight our countrymen. Our lives we stake on this. Patriots, the time is at hand. If the government pushes us into a corner, then I wish you well. For the fight that lies before us will be the toughest thing our generations have ever endured. Your grandchildren's grandchildren will read about how you fought for their freedoms. We can only hope that they will not be as foolish as we in allowing the government to ever do this again. Patriots, I'll leave you with the saying that my father left me with the day that I left the Marine Corps. Keep your chins up, your heads down, and dig your foxholes deep. Godspeed, and Semper Fidelis.
Sit rep as follows.
Last night I dreamt about how things were.
Of every enemy of the state!
And then I woke up here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no secret is revealed. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.